وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُّدَّكِرٍ.
And we have certainly made the Quran easy for remembrance. So is there any who will remember?
Start the first page, inshallah. The aim today is to go through the first page of this the reference material, the 40 pages that I've talked to you about. So if you have it open, that would be useful. The first page itself is just an index. As I say, I did want to, and I do want to make it like a reference material. So that's the first page. So on the, it might be the second page, but the bottom will say page 1. And inshallah, we'll go through that. First thing to mention, and we'll take it right from the beginning, is that Arabic words, all Arabic words are of 3 types, so I'll fall into 3 different categories. They are one of these 3 types, and all of them will be in one of these 3 types. And they are Ism, Fi'l, and Harf. And inshallah, I'll try and write these down and see if you can read it. So the Arabic words are of 3 types. Okay? And first one we mentioned was Ism. The second we mentioned, the order isn't that important, is Fi'l. And the third type is we call Harf. So if you open up the Quran, all the words in there, the letters, because we call them letters, Harf, are one of these 3 categories. All of them. There's no exception to that. What is an Ism? Ism is described, you can describe it in English as nouns, but much more than that. Nouns, adjectives, proper nouns, names of places, all of those fall into Ism, and a lot more than that as well. So it's just a rough idea. Those are the kind of things which are referred to as Ism. Fi'l are referred to as doing words, so verbs, so doing words, those things that have a tense to it. By tense we mean past, present and future. So for example, go, to be the future or present, or went to be the past. So those kind of words are called verbs in English, and in Arabic we call them fi'l. And harf are the rest. Harf are the rest. And the harf, in terms of way of thinking about it, which would be useful, is to think of harf as words that by themselves they do not convey a lot of meaning. They don't tell you much. So harf usually need something else with them. So if, for example, in, on, just in themselves don't give you much information. So if somebody asks you a question, where were you, in, think in what? So you need something else, like in the house. And so on themselves they don't give you that information. So that's the definition of harf. So again, 3 types: Ism, Fi'l, and Harf. And inshallah, with that, I want to go through the vocabulary of the Quran. Inshallah, today we'll go through Surah Fatihah, and then I want to make a lot of repetition, so that you can also learn the vocabulary as well as we're going along. And some of you, inshallah, probably know some of the vocabulary, but we want to go through word by word. And let's see, inshallah, how we get on. So, Surah Fatihah. Vocabulary. Again, this should be on the website. If you click on it, it should load up. Or if you're struggling, it should not need to struggle, but it's on Al-Huda as well, and it's word for word English translation of the words of the Quran. So, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So we'll go with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim first. Bismi is actually 2 words. Okay, so Bismi itself is actually 2 words. And let's see, I'll write it here quite big, and I'll rub out the previous things. We can always rewrite that again when you come back to it again. But let's show you Bismi first. Bismi. Bismi. Okay, the two words. So you got the ba and you got ism. Ba and ism. And when they're combined together, the alif is dropped. Alif drops when the ba is attached to the ism. So that's bismi. So there's two words in there. The first, the meaning, we're going to learn in here. People translate it in the name of Allah or with the name of Allah. I prefer, especially starting off, I think it's perhaps better used with, because it's like utilizing, and the ba here often has that meaning. So that term ba here as bi is a harf. Okay, so inshallah while we're going through the meaning this time around, we're going to go through and we're going to say which one's which. Okay, for some of them, not all of them, because some of them are a little bit trickier and I do not want to confuse you. So ba here is a harf. Then you've got ism, and ism is obviously an ism, and here it means name. So with the name Allah, and again Allah is an ism. Ar-Rahman, translated as the most merciful, and that is an ism. Okay, and then Ar-Rahman, again, that is an ism. And another thing I want to mention here, I don't want to mention too many things because I do not want to confuse you, but let's see, Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim, there's an al that comes before the word Rahman, translated often as the, sometimes as all, but usually as the. So you got Ar-Rahman, okay, so you got Ar-Rahman, and Ar-Rahman here, what I want you to focus on is the al, translated as the usually, and that, why have I done that way, is it gives you a clue. Wherever you see al or the, then you know it's going to be an ism. So one of the ways of recognizing an ism is the al. Ar-Rahman. And again Ar-Rahim, you've got the al again. So that's again an ism, translated as the most, no, Ar-Rahim. They're translated here as always all merciful. The always all merciful. Continuing with Alhamdu. Alhamdu means all praise and thanks. More than just one of those words, so it's a combination. And as you said before, as you're probably aware, English is a rough translation of the Arabic. And inshallah, as you learn more Arabic, or we learn more Arabic, then we should be able to appreciate that. So Alhamdu, again, al comes at the start of that, so it's an ism. Ar-Rahman means all praise and thanks. Lillahi, again, similar to Bismillahi, Lillahi is two words. Lillahi is two words. Li and Allah. Li and Allah. And it becomes Lillahi. Lillahi. And you can see again with this one, the alif disappears. Remember Bismi? Alif disappeared. Here again, Li and Allah, when it comes together, Lillahi, the alif disappears. So again, here, Li, belonging to, means belonging to, or translated as for. Again, same meaning, but for in the sense of belonging to. Allah, ism. Rabb, meaning here, sustainer. Rabb, sustainer, Lord, lots of different meanings. Sustainer. Rabb means sustainer, and again this is an ism. Okay, we talked about it before. Nouns, proper nouns, names, adjectives, all of those are considered ism. Ism is quite a broad category. There are a lot more words than much more than nouns. Al-Alameen again has an alif lam at the beginning, again giving you a clue. That's an ism. Okay, it doesn't mean that words that don't have alif lam are not isms. No, it doesn't mean that. All it means is if you find an alif lam, then you know definitely it's an ism. As long as the alif lam is, separate from the actual word, meaning the, which at the moment, whenever you see it, perhaps easiest is whenever you see al, then think of it as an ism, because most likely you're going to be right, especially if the meaning is there. So al-alameen, the worlds. Al-alameen, the worlds. The next ayah, ar-Rahman. Again, we went through the meaning of this before. Ar-Rahman, the most merciful. Ar-Rahim, the most, the always most merciful. And both of these are also again ism. Malik, Malik, they've got two meanings written here. Master, owner. I prefer the meaning of owner, so we'll go with that, owner. Malik, owner. Again, as you can sound like noun, yeah, it's an ism. Yom, day. Ad-Din, the judgment. Yom is an ism. Ad-Din has alif lam, gives you a clue. It's an ism. So Maliki Yawmiddin, owner of the day of judgment. Okay, so sometimes when you're going through word for word translation, you need to add a few more bits in. And inshallah, when you learn the grammar, you'll pick up why there's an of here, why these things happen. With time, inshallah, we'll go through those. Next ayah is Iyaka. Iyaka, you alone. Okay, Iyaka, you alone. Iyaka translated as you alone or you only. Na'budu, na'budu, we worship. Na'budu means we worship. So na'budu, we worship something that you do. So it's a fi'l. Na'budu is a fi'l. Na'budu is a fi'l. So we worship. Wa, and is what? It's a harf. And in itself does not give you much information. Wa, meaning and, is a harf, meaning and. Wa iya, so iyaka, you alone. Nasta'een, we seek for help, or we ask for help. Nasta'een, again, something that we do. Okay, you're asking for help, something that you do, it's a fi'l. Fi'l. Next ayah, ihdina, ihdina, guide us. Ihdina, guide us. Guide us, again, this is a fi'l. The ihdina, the ihdi bit anyway, is a fi'l. Fi'l, guide. So guide us, ihdina in combination is guide us, is a fi'l. As-sirata, as-sirata, the path. Again, al comes before it. It's an ism. Al-mustaqim, an ism. You got al there. Al-mustaqim, straight. Okay. So the path, the straight. Arabic is the other way around. In English, we would have said the straight path. Adjectives usually come before the noun. Arabic, the other way around. Okay. And inshallah, when you go through that, you learn it. So in Arabic, meaning the same. So when we read it, we will say, guide us to this, guide us. Straight path, guide us to the straight path or on the straight path. All of those are encompassed in this particular sentence. So in English we say the straight path, however in Arabic the path comes first, the noun, and mustaqim, the adjective, comes afterwards. The one adjective meaning the one you described. But both of them are what? Isms. They both have al. And as I said, even if they don't have al, we know that they're ism. And knowing the meaning obviously is helping, particularly now, to know which is which part of the Arabic. And as I said, all of these Arabic words are one of these three. Some others say I may not mention because I don't want to confuse you, but most of them, as we can see, we are going through and mentioning them. So the next ayah is sirata. We had the word before, meaning path, and again this is an ism. Alladhina, alladhina. Okay, alladhina, of those who, alladhina, those who. The word itself, alladhina, those who. And anta, you favored. Okay, you favored or you blessed. And again, and anta, blessed, it's a fi'l, action. Alayhim, two words. So we've had a few which are two words. Ala and hum. Ala means upon, hum means them. And when they come together, they become alayhim. Happens a lot in Arabic that some of the, like you had hum, we don't say alayhum, we say alayhim. These things do happen often, and generally the Arabic tries to make it easier on the tongue. So if there's a little bit hardness there, there's slight changes to it. So ala and hum becomes alayhim. Becomes alayhim. becomes alayhim. Okay. Ala and hum becomes alayhim. So there's two words there. Ala. So what is ala? Ala, upon. So that is a harf. That is a harf. Harf. And hum, them, is an ism. Pronouns, those are all isms. Okay, as I said, isms are quite big in category. Alayhim, so صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب. So غير عددا المغضوب, those who earned anger, those who earned anger, those who earned wrath, those who earned anger. And again, al at the beginning gives you a clue that it is an ism. Alayhim, alayhim. Again, two words, we mentioned them before, so see if you can remember them. Ala and hum. Ala means upon or on, hum, them. When they combine together, they becomes alayhim. And some of these, as you can see, come again and again, like alladhina, alayhim. So a lot of words come again and again. So if you pick them up well, inshallah, you should remember them. Wa means and. Okay, wa means and it's a harf. La means not, and that is again a harf. Ad-dallin, those who are misguided, those who are gone astray. Ad-dallin, and again alif lam at the beginning. Ad-dallin. Advice would be in terms of learning the Quran vocabulary, generally even speaking, anybody who's learning any material, it's a good idea to repeat, repetition, not in only one sitting. So go through it today, inshallah. If you learned it, great. Then some other day, tomorrow, repeat it again. And as the more you repeat it, the easier it will get. Far better than spending 30 minutes one go trying to learn it again and again and again. It's far more constructive, far better. Let's say spend 10 minutes now, 10 minutes in the evening, 10 minutes the other day. That's far better in terms of learning, and you'll see that as you repeat it, it gets better. The other thing I would advise is once you get used to the vocabulary, you're confident with the vocabulary, then make it harder for yourself. By that I mean is just do one ayah. You're learning it in order, it's easy. Then start with the learn, see if you know the last ayah, go through the meaning of that, see if you know that, then check if you know the meaning of the second ayah, and like that. Again, that will be a way of strengthening your memorization. And then once you've done that, I would then recommend see if you can remember the individual words, because there's a lot of words which come again and again, and if you really know the material, then you should be able to know alhamdulillah, means all praise and thanks, and amta, you bestowed favors, and amta, you blessed, you favored. Okay, so pick words like that and then see if you can remember them. And inshallah with that we'll come back, and as I say, I do want to repeat stuff, but while you're repeating stuff, I also want to explain stuff as we're going along. And then once we learn some of the information, then again go back to the Quran and see how it's applied. And then inshallah, I think it's a good way of not only learning the material, but also seeing the beauty of it, and then inshallah getting closer to the Quran, because then you can think, oh, that's why that happens, oh, that's why this is there, oh, that's why that's there. And inshallah, through that, inshallah, the aim is, inshallah, with the permission of Allah, that when you listen to the Quran, you can actually understand the meaning as you go along, and then inshallah it should have, and really should have, because Allah's words have an effect upon our heart. Okay, so we went, and I'm going to write it again for repetition. Arabic words. So we said Arabic words are of 3 types. Okay, and I said that it was ism, and ism, if you remember the meaning of ism, if you remember, is nouns, much more than the adjectives and all those kind of things we mentioned. We also mentioned about fi'l. Fi'l are doing words like verbs, and inshallah you can remember that because we just went through it. But if you don't, as I say, repetition, something new, needs to take time to get used to it. Repetition is good, and the advantage of having it this way is you could always go through the information again and again if you need to. But inshallah, I think you probably won't need to, because we're doing a lot of repetition. So we had ism, we had fi'l and harf. Now the first focus of these lessons are we focusing on ism. We're going to be focusing on isms. We're going to cover isms. A lot of the isms go through that. We go through isms individually, how they then form into phrases, and eventually into how they form into sentences. And then after that we'll cover the fi'l, and the harfs we cover as we go along. Because as I said to you, harfs, they are, if you remember, words that need something else with them to convey a meaning. So we'll go through the harfs which are relevant to the isms, that they go together with isms. We'll cover that in that section, and then when we go to the fi'l, we'll cover those kind of harfs that normally go with the fi'ls, the doing words, and we'll go through those inshallah. But the focus at the moment is on ism. The focus is on ism, and inshallah